I'm Reverend Karen Einhaus. I'm the spiritual leader of this amazing community. Thank you for being here. Today is a special day. We called it, I think we said, I always wanted to know. Oh, I've been wondering. Sometimes we call these Ask the Revs. So if there's a question on your mind, if you have a question about this teaching, about this community, about whatever, this is your opportunity to ask that question, and Reverend Lezli and I will attempt to answer those to the best way we are able. And I believe there are some beloveds who have baskets. You have been receiving 3x5 cards. If you want to take a moment, write down your questions, just hold them up, they will collect them, and we are going to get started. Everybody ready to hear some answers? Yeah. Good. All right. Do you already have some questions?
I actually do. A couple got handed to me, so I could start with one.
Okay.
What do you wish the community understood about how the center runs? Ooh. One thing, I mean, that could be a whole talk.
Yes.
But the one that jumps to mind the fastest here is how complicated scheduling is. That, people come to us all the time and they're like, I want to have a potluck. I want to do a thing. And we can do that in 3 weeks, right? You won't have to do anything. They always say that to us. The ministers won't have to do anything. The office won't have to do anything. And that's never true. Bless your sweethearts. That's never, ever true. But the things that we have to take into account for every event that happens is budget, which is planned out yearly in advance. What else is going on in the community, because we don't want to schedule one event right on top of another if at all possible. And also, letting people know, I call it the machine, the marketing machine. Letting people know what's going on involves an 8-week minimum process of building a landing page on the website, putting things on the online concierge, creating multiple different kinds of graphics for flyers and slides and websites. It involves making sure that all the office members know what's going on, building a fund in Breeze so that people can pay for it, making sure the accounting understands what's going on, and enough weeks of putting it in the newsletter and the invitations up here so that everybody can find out, schedule it in, and come. So, do we want you to come to us with your amazing ideas? Yes, yes, yes. We want you to come to us with your amazing ideas for 3 to 6 months from now.
Nice, very nice. Well, I picked 2 relatively easy ones, and I put some on your stack over there.
Yeah, I see that.
One of the things that I have learned on very early in ministry is there are questions that just lift me up, and I want to answer them, and I know it exactly. And then there are those for Reverend Lezli. And I am very, very good with passing them on to her.
And I'll take them.
Right. All right, here's a question. The annual themes are so good. How do you choose? Well, it's actually how do we choose, because the annual theme, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you see them written on these beautiful banners, right? Every path leads home is our annual theme. It is the theme that for all of 2023 we are leaning into, that is at the back every time when we create Sunday messages, when we look at classes, when we see what we want to offer. That is the very basis from where we're starting. And those themes are literally created out of the survey, the community-wide survey that we pass out in May. So many of you will remember, we usually do it at a town hall, and you are asked questions like, if there's one thing New Vision Center could provide for you, what would that be? What are some of the spiritual concepts you would like to deepen in? Would you support And then there are many options. And then the last question this last time was, is there anything else that you would like us to know? We have a community that likes us to know things.
Yes.
And we are grateful for it, because if you have been part of the New Vision Center for a while now, you have noticed that our community is changing. It is expanding. Many people are joining us online from places farther away than here, the Phoenix metropolitan area. We have many, many new individuals that have found the New Vision Center and are stepping in. And so with that comes the awareness that this is a living, breathing, moving entity. That's what New Vision Center is. It is this loving space that we are invited into, and as we are stepping in, whoever the we is, the form changes. That is how we come up with the annual theme. Great question. And this is a quickie. When are you planning to have a foundation class? Very, very good question. The next foundation class, for those of you, for everybody to know, the foundation class is the foundation to take all the accredited classes that eventually can lead to becoming a practitioner. And the next one is starting in January, the second week in January. It's going to be on a Tuesday. And I want to say that if you look on your Keep Me sheet, the next couple of classes that are coming up are not accredited classes that have a prerequisite, which means everyone is welcome, everybody can sign up for that. And I think the next one that we have is the 15 commitment of conscious leadership. So, great questions.
Okay. This is one that she just handed to me. In Jeopardy, the answer is daily substantial spiritual practice. What is the question? So for anybody that didn't laugh, that didn't get the joke, I have been known to suggest that the answer to functionally everything is daily substantial spiritual practice. Yes. For anybody who doesn't know what that means, Reverend Lezli, do you mean daily literally? Do I? Yes, yes, I do. Substantial, when I say substantial, what I'm talking about there is, in my opinion, and you're invited to join me in it, there are 4 pieces of substantial spiritual practice. There is talking to spirit in some way, some form of prayer. Of course, we like spiritual mind treatment because that's the science of mind thing, but every form of prayer works. Some form of listening to spirit, meditation. There are literally thousands of forms. They're all good. Some form of obtaining wisdom, reading wisdom. It can be Ernest Holmes, it can be Bible, it can be whatever author you're reading right now, but touching base with the truth. And the 4th one is self-reflection. So that's what's substantial. So if the answer is daily substantial spiritual practice, I think that the primary question is, if I want my life to look a certain way, and I've been doing readings and taking classes, but I don't see my life shifting as completely or as deeply as I think it should be, what step have I been missing? And I would say then that answer naturally becomes committing completely to my daily substantial spiritual practice.
Yay, great. All right. These are really good. Here's a question. If we are in a bad mood, aka exhibiting negative energy, does that interfere with our manifestation of good in our life? Great question, great question. What comes to mind when I read this and when I hear these questions is our teaching symbol. for everybody, we have a teaching symbol. It is a circle with a V inside it. And what that teaching symbol so beautifully exhibits is the creative process. The idea that everything that is happening is creative, and it creates certain outcomes. So the top layer is the potentiality, the goodness, God, infinite peace, love, harmony, joy, abundance, the goodness of life, all the purity you can imagine. And then we approach this allness of life, the God that is everywhere present, this vibration that we refer to as first cause or God or spirit or whatever word works for us, and we approach it, and what we actually are doing is we are pulling from these potentiality, the highest and best, into our personal life. So I always see it as a pulling down. That's what that V is, right? Now, in that middle part that is called the soil, that is the area where our beliefs live. And that means all of our beliefs. Our beliefs that I am one in the one, and our beliefs that I am not good enough. Our beliefs that the world, the universe is here for our highest impression, for our good, for everybody's good. And also if we happen to have a belief that the universe is a hostile place. All of those beliefs live in that middle area. And so here's what happened. Whatever we come to the storehouse of the infinite with, we are manifesting into our experience. And that is the bottom part of the teaching symbol. So, as the person asked, so if I'm in a bad mood and exhibiting negative energy, does that have to do? Does that interfere with our manifestation of good? I would say, yes. Short answer. And why is that? Because my belief then is activated. Can't say that from the platform. Wait. I'm activated. Oh, that's good. I'm activated. Something is really getting to me. And then I'm like, okay, well, I am going to just affirm. But you know that the universe does not respond to the pretty affirmation that I read and wrote down 2 days ago, and I'm just reading this now. The universe, the creative medium, is responding to what? My energy, my vibration. And so if I am vibrating anger and irritation, and if I'm vibrating that clearly I'm right and they are wrong, and I'm going to affirm that vibrationally, guess what I'm going to get back? More opportunity to be exactly that, to be irritated. More opportunity to feel that I was right in the first place. So, what can we do? Because there are times where we find ourselves being in a bad mood and exhibiting negative energy. At least it happens for me at times. So what's important then is to say, okay, I remember how we talked about this. So I am clearly activated. Perhaps my prayer then becomes, let me feel the oneness of our life. Let me realize that I am one in the one, and that one is goodness and peace and harmony. So moving away from trying to manifesting something, but rather anchoring into clearing out that energy, the vibration that I'm feeling within. Very good question. Thank you.
These are such good questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two that are related, so I'm going to attempt to answer them both at the same time. The first one says, what are your concepts of God? And we've got quotes around God. When praying, why are some not healed? And then the other one says, how can science of mind help me with chronic illness if I haven't prayed in a cure? So, see, very related. Okay, so I will start at the top. What are our concepts of God? And I love that God is in quotes, because so often when we think of, God with a capital G, I heard somebody at Asilomar this week call it like Big Papa Present Daddy God. Like if you're really good and you go to bed on time, you're gonna get the stuff, right? And that definitely is not what Science of Mind teaches about what this energy, this consciousness that we call God, mostly because most of us live in the United States, and God is the word that people understand. And I don't know about you guys, but I went years without saying God, but I would try to explain to, my grandmother this place that I go where I talk about infinite reality and touch base with the heart of humanity. And finally, in the face of this blank stare, I would just say, it's God, Grandma. It's church and it's God. It's the words that people understand, even though those of us who are here often recognize it's not at all a traditional church and it's not at all what we might consider traditional God. Instead, it's this energy, this connective consciousness that is the natural order of the universe itself. And it has no opinion about what we do other than that it be life-affirming, meaning supporting the expansion of life as opposed to the contraction or the limitation of life. So that is our concept of God. We see it as the pairing of the personal nature of loving kindness and the impersonal nature of a law that always acts the same way, just like how electricity runs. A toaster can toast things, or if you stick a fork in it, that's maybe not such a happy day. It's just the energy that we can utilize however we choose. So then we get into this question about healing and cures. So one of my sadnesses that I'm hoping that the new curriculum, as Home Office puts out this new curriculum, I hope that it gets addressed, is that in the first couple weeks of Practitioner 1, which is, usually 4 to 5 years into a given person's process of learning about science of mind, we learn this amazing thing that I wish we learned in week 2 of foundational classes. And that is, there is a difference between healing and cure. There is a difference between healing and cure. Healing, well, I'll do it the other way. Cure is the relieving of effects. It's the taking away from or the removal of or lessening of something that happens at the end of the creative process. So I want to feel better comes down into that V Reverend Karen was just talking about, and it goes through all of our beliefs, and it comes out as perhaps a clean bill of health, or a headache that is removed, or a fever that goes away, whatever it is that we're praying for. It's the removal of an effect, which is a good thing, right? We're pro a cure. I'm not going to say that's not what we want, but that's a pretty limited, narrow slice of the pie, big picture. Healing works on the level of cause. On our big teaching symbol here, healing is up here and effects are down here. Healing works at the level of cause, and it is more complicated and more developed than just what symptom am I experiencing. Science of Mind would say we always get a healing. We always get a healing, often lots of them. They may or may not lead to a cure. Why would that be? I'm going to refer back to our beautiful theme here. Every path leads home. We are all on an individual path. And for some of us, that path is coming to an end. For some of us, and I would put myself in this category, for some of us, our path is actually served by having symptoms that cause us to remember to behave a certain way that expand us in ways that are difficult to understand. So I'll throw in a tiny story example here. I go a lot. Maybe you've noticed, I go. I want to do, I talk a lot, I move a lot, I'm high energy, go, 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 go. And I've been that way my entire life. And in 2016, my highest wisdom self and my body collaborated to say, no, stop, slow down. Now that showed up for me in physicality as my autoimmune system saying, yeah, we're going to reawaken an illness that has been in remission for a good long time, and we're going to get all sassy with that. How could that possibly be advantageous to me? There is a depth and an insightfulness and a quietness that is required to do this work that is not endemic to my personality. That's just true. I don't know that I ever would have slowed down enough to understand what I need to understand to be effective in this role. Perhaps someday I will be spiritually mature enough that I can maintain that and be fully cured. Won't it be fun to find out? We'll get to find out together. And so related to that, how can Science of Mind help me if I haven't managed to pray in a cure? For me, it comes down to a balance of two things. And perhaps you've heard me talk about this before. There is the piece of looking right at a condition, looking right at it, whether it's racism, whether it's social inequality, whether it's my own physical illness, looking right at it and seeing through it to the spiritual truth behind it, while at the same time being in a place of surrendered acceptance to the stuff you gotta do on the physical realm if you wanna, feel good enough to do things. So for me, that means using my accommodations. It's why we changed our roles so that I would work less and have more time to rest, to use a cane if I need a cane, to use a walker if I need a walker that day, to take my medicine. All those things, whatever it is for any individual life, to come to a peaceful place with those things, right? To just let it be good as it is, and still keep that doorway open for the miracle. To know that Spirit is always working on our behalf and that we can hold both in the divine paradox at the same time. So we use what we know, not to go back and think, where was my consciousness? I got to flog myself for thinking the wrong things and I should have said more affirmations. Nah, we use what we know now to make our lives better now, in that place of surrender, and also staying open to all of that good as it comes in.
Yes, 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 yes. Beautiful. Thank you, thank you. I think we have time for a couple more. Occasionally at the beginning of service, at candlelighting, many of different belief systems are referenced. When we do our all faith traditions, I think that's what this person is referring to. To me, that solidifies the inclusiveness of Science of Mind, and it seems that would also help first-timers be more comfortable. Why don't we have more of that? Very good question. So, does everybody know what this person's talking about when we do our candlelighting service, the candlelighting part of our service? And yes, we have one where we acknowledge all faith traditions. We also have one where we acknowledge everyone wherever they are on the spiritual journey. If they are new to a spiritual journey, if they are disillusioned by it, if they are struggling, if they are having a success experience. So that one is really designed to bring, for everyone to feel welcomed here, and that this is their place, wherever we are. And then we have one that we do where we share the covenant, that is the intention of New Vision Center, and how we intend to walk out our vision and our mission. That's the one that talks about we intend to have, to be financial stewards, and we intend to engage in daily spiritual practice and all of those intentions. So that's another one. And then today, we heard the one that the children wrote. About half a year ago, we had a children's service, and our youth department actually wrote those qualities. And so all of them are designed for people to resonate and find themselves in the different, wherever they are, wherever you are welcome here. And that does include, very much so, if you are coming from a different faith tradition, and if that is still your faith tradition. You might recall having heard here that Dr. Ernest Holmes always says that this teaching, if you are Jewish, makes you a better Jew. If you are whatever faith tradition, makes you a better that, because it gives us information on how to use spiritual principles and apply them in our lives. And that brings me to perhaps our last question. Maybe we can both answer this one. And I'll go first, and then you get to go.
Perfect.
Yeah?
Perfect.
I like this one. What is your favorite principle, and how do you live it in your life? Isn't that a good question? Now, principle. So we will think about a couple things. For some of us, we might think about those wonderful statements of what we believe. And you hear us referencing them often. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, wrote them in 1929 when asked by a reporter, "What is it that you believe over there?" And he went home and he penned these 11 statements of what he believed. And then the organization adopted those, and we turned them into what we believe. And those are referred to as what we believe statements, our principles. Now, we each probably have our favorite one of those. Mine happens to be, we believe in the eternal loving kindness, the eternal givingness, and the eternal truth to all. We believe that this universe is outpouring the goodness to each and every one of us, and we don't need to do anything, which is grace, right? And then a couple of years ago, some people were saying that is really old language, and beloveds at Centers for Spiritual Living came together and created these 10 principles of science of mind. And they are oneness, love, creation, threefold nature, creative process, spiritual law, spiritual beings, freedom, heaven, and eternal life. And if the person was asking about those principles, mine is heaven, which was a word I had a little bit of a challenge with in the beginning, because it has the connotation that it's somewhere that we get to at a time when we leave this place, right? But what I have come to understand and apply in my life, that heaven is right here, right now. It is the awareness that I get to have on how magnificent life truly is. And so that is my favorite one. And now you get to go.
Oh, this is a good one to end on.
Yes.
Well, if we're talking the what we believe statements, I have cobbled pieces of two together to create my favorite phrase, which is the highest God and the innermost God is one God, and anyone can become a revealer of truth who chooses to live in close proximity with indwelling God. There's a lot in that to unpack, but I absolutely adore it. It means we don't have to go to any intercessor. Nobody else is between us and Spirit. That voice, that impetus we feel on the inside of ourselves when we feel called forward into something is Spirit saying, yep, this one's for you. Go do it. And the only thing we need to do to hear that voice more clearly is to tune into it intentionally more often. when we go into the new principles, which is really just a fresh way of saying the same thing. I think my favorite is freedom. There's a hint to that because I have a tattoo that says freedom. And I remember one of our previous senior ministers, Reverend Penny Masick, once said to me that freedom is the state we live in when all of the qualities of the divine are present and activated in our beingness in balance. It means that we're always at choice, and it means that we don't have to hold on to anything that's weighing us down. We have the freedom to release it and live in a way that is more expansive, more open, without any limitations coming in on us from the outside. The freedom from discord, freedom from constriction, and then also freedom to express absolutely, completely, and fully who we really are. And I just adore that.
Beautiful. Well, those were some great questions. We didn't get to all of them, but we will continue to answer them in the newsletter, and you can sign up for that newsletter if you haven't already at the concierge table. And now we're going to do exactly what Reverend Lezli just talked about. We are going to place ourselves in that close contact with the divine that is everywhere present all the time. And so we are going to enter into prayer, into our form of affirmative prayer, into a spiritual mind treatment. I invite all of the ministers, the practitioners of this, if it feels comfortable, to please rise and hold this space with me. And so we recognize that there's truly only one. And we allow this recognition to take a hold of our entire being. We feel it as love, as peace, as harmony, as freedom, as joy, as abundance, as this now moment, as this very breath we breathe, recognizing that there is a power for good and that we can use it. We can use it. And as there is only one and there's nothing other than it follows naturally that I am of it. That the one speaking through me as me is the divine beingness. There's no separation, there's no and, there's just a one in the one. And it is from this place that I speak my word. Such a word of great gratitude for this teaching, for the realizations that are taking place every moment, for this place where we can come together and live our teaching and be with one another. This place where we are welcomed, wherever we are coming from, wherever we find ourselves on this spiritual journey, I feel this beloved community beckoning us forward. And so I hold in the highest all the prayer requests that have been placed into our prayer box, into our ministry of prayer, holding it, knowing that every prayer is answered. And so I feel gratitude in every cell of my being, gratitude for every person within the sound of my voice, gratitude for the deep knowingness of the magnificence of this teaching of these beloveds, of this thing called life. And so it is with an overflowing heart that I simply release this word into universal law. I place it into the law that always, always says yes. Yes, my beloveds, it's already so. And together we anchor this truth as we say, and so it is, amen.